All right, we are live.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi there.
Can you hear it?
Hey,
Yes,
hey, Foxy. How is everyone
I,
doing? Mm-mm.
Roxanne, Color Guppies. Color Guppy's been here right at the beginning.
hey, Laurie,
Miss
Foxy.
Miss Laurie. Yep. I love the Zydeco music. I
Mm.
do.
Hey,
Muppet.
Red Roses. Who's
Red
Roses?
John
Hey,
Hey,
Muppet.
Lawson.
Hey,
Lori.
I'm in
Every,
Mary's back there somewhere. Hello,
everybody.
Jason.
William. Everybody's filing in now. Dragon
Yeah, it's
Leia.
Mary Page.
Mary Page. We see you. just, just.
Yo, Jason. Hi, Laurie.
I'm gonna text Alex.
Hey, Dragon Bear.
I'm echoing on somebody.
John. Exotic. Holly Gibbs. Hello.
He might have fallen asleep again.
Yeah, probably.
He did that yesterday.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Exotics. Hey,
Yeah.
Exotic. GRV.
Hey, GRP. What's up, buddy?
Yeah,
Danica.
bless his
And
heart.
Foxy.
Yes, he did. He was they were
Jesse, I'm echoing. You know, it's probably me. I got it. I got it. Right, there it is.
Yay! Hey, Pexotics. Chris John. Okay. I have Alex is supposed to join us because this is the second of the, I guess we're just going to do a two-part series of Queen, the female guppy.
Mhm.
And, okay, he'd say he thinks he's in the waiting room, but I don't see you.
No,
Oh, there
I
you
don't.
are. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't.
There you are.
There he is.
Hey,
It took you a
Hi,
minute.
Alex.
What's up, Alex?
hey guys, how's it going?
It's
Are you
going. It's
outside?
going.
I'm good, buddy.
He's out in the
Hey,
snow. He
Patricia.
is.
I'm out in the snow. That's right.
Is it snowing really?
No, there was some flurries for a minute there, but it's rain. It's melting when it hits the ground. It's like 33 degrees,
That's
Wow.
good.
Wow.
which is like
Oh,
the worst.
it's good.
Right.
Like, if it's either gonna rain or it's gonna snow. Come on. Don't give me the in between. Give me one or the other.
Right.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
But we don't.
exactly.
When we get snow, though, it's not snow. It's slush. Like,
I know.
I can't tell you what real snow looks like.
You
Never
guys
touched
get
it.
I've only,
you,
I've only,
you can get ice storms once in a blue moon down there, like every 50 years or something, supposedly.
Yeah, about like that 100-year flood we got 3 years ago.
Yeah,
That's
Yep.
right.
the 100-year
That-
flood you get every 6 years.
Yeah,
Right.
yep. That was something else. Y'all, I'm going to tell you a quick story on that 100-year flood. We were flooded, not my house, but across the street. And we're all kind of in double wides, mobile homes. And we all have horse trailers, and we all have the big horse trailers that have the living quarters. And my neighbor across the street waited too long to get her animals out. So we went and loaded her horses in the horse trailer the water was up to the floor on them horses' feet. And they had one that couldn't get in the trailer. So the girl rode the horse, swam the horse behind the horse trailer while we pulled her out down the road with the tractor because we couldn't drive our trucks through it. It was so deep.
Oh
That
man.
was crazy. that was some crazy shit. I mean, that was something. That was something. But yeah, anyway, back to fish.
Fish. Well, I'm sure you got some fish in places that weren't expected that time.
Oh my goodness. I've seen more snakes wrapped around T-posts.
You know, so I have a real quick story about a hurricane. Well, it turned into a tropical depression. I think it came in as a 1 or a 2, and within like a half hour, it was a tropical depression. But I was in where was it? I was driving outside of Abilene, Texas, and there was this stretch of just nothingness out there. You know, like a 2 or 3 hour stretch in between big cities. And the rain came, and it was raining. I think they said like 9 inches in 6 hours, and so it was just pouring down. And the roadway was the highest point raised up of anywhere, and so you're out in this desert, and the sun might as well have been set because of how dark it got. And then all of a sudden, all the snakes, scorpions, tarantulas, rabbits, everything was right on that middle line in the road. And no one was out there because they're all smarter than us. And we weren't from the area. We had nowhere to go hide or anything. So we were like, let's just drive out of here.
Oh
But it looked like a Stephen King horror movie or something. You know, you had every creepy crawly that you could imagine all hanging out right in the center of the road, like to the point where it was all roadkill and they were eating each other. And yeah, it was just crazy.
Yeah,
Katrina did a lot of
yeah,
that going on. And,
not having that. But yeah, it was, and I seen some of the biggest fish, big catfish that had just been displaced, you know. And you're going down the road. Of course, we're not supposed to be driving in the road, but you know, we're kind of redneck around here, so we kind of do it anyway. But
sure.
Yeah, these fish are just going across the road, flip flopping. Yeah. It was insane. That was something. You know, I don't want it to happen again, but that is something that I would want, you know, my kids to remember and see. I don't know.
Weird. In the Northwest, every single year we have floods that are big enough, just on small rivers, but they'll flood. And so there's just roads that flood every single year on cue for a few days a year. And you can see footage. You'll see it on the national news, but you see the salmon spawning going across the road, and you'll see, you know, hundreds of these salmon, and you just see their dorsal fin and splashes like running across the road, basically. So there's a spot you can go watch it. I want to, next time it happens, I should go record it for the channel, actually.
For real. Yep. Hey, Anthony's Tanks.
How's it going, Lou? Fatherfish?
Good. How are you, Alex? Nice.
I'm terrible.
One fish dude.
You can tell. One fish stew.
One fish dude. I got to copy this.
One fish stew.
Talking and all that stuff. Hurricane Katrina. I talked to a guy. He was in Empire, which is pretty much ground zero for the hurricane, and he was trapped on top of a levee, holding on to the top of a tree that was on the top of a levee, with water up to his chest. He said at one point he had a deer holding on to him, and snakes wrapped on his shoulders, like holding on to him, because he was the highest point.
King of the jungle.
As the water went down, and they was able to get under the grass. Everything, even the snakes and deer, just pretty much just laid down in the grass and caught their breath and just went their separate way.
Oh my gosh!
Pretty amazing.
That's like biblical.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, he literally had water moccasins, copperheads, and a deer hanging on him, and nothing was trying to bite each other. Nothing like that. It was just survival. It was just trying to survive.
I'll take the deer, but not the copperheads.
Right.
Or the water moccasins.
Great story. What happened?
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Hello, everybody. I see folks in the chat saying hi to everyone. Hey, Kenny.
Why is it
Anthony?
Here.
Okay, there.
So I
They're
heard
gonna
Father
get
Fish
here
was gonna.
again.
I heard Father Fish was gonna invent a guppy for us tonight, alive.
Invent,
An event.
invent a guppy.
So yeah, for the second part of this two-part series, I wanted to kind of wrap up what we did last week, which was we went over, or Alex went over the. Okay, help me out, Alex. What is it called? The
Sexual selection and female choice in genetics of
That's
guppies.
it. That's it. That's it. And so we were kind of ending that stream, getting into kind of some of the different color patterns and kind of dipping into some of that, which is where I want to start this one. I want to get in that just a little bit more. But also, since we have Father Fish, and we only have Father Fish for this first hour, so I want him to tell us when people come into the fish store and they see guppies or whatever, what do they see? What attracts them? Is it color, plain, or is it a pattern, or is it an albino? What is it?
Is it
Or
fat
is it-
content for their
Yeah.
fish to
Right.
eat?
Right. So and is there a difference? Do you have a tank that's just for those feeder guppies, and then a tank that's for the good, the really, really pretty ones?
And Jess, can I skip in real quick and just mention something?
Sure.
Like while we have the privilege of having
Yes.
Father Fish on. So Father
Yes.
Fish too, I'll shut up after this, believe me. But I was gonna say I would love to hear. I know, and since we had talked about natural selection versus selection and how like guppies, the orange spot is something that all guppies are drawn towards because it shows their nutrition has been met basically in the wild.
Right.
But once you give them food where they're all totally nourished, that selection goes down. They don't seek out that orange spot pattern as much. So I was just curious. We had left off on that, but you have far more experience and wisdom than all of us on what was popular, say in the 50s and 60s. So I would love to hear also what are some of the first guppy color strains, patterns, and Delta Tail I know was an early one, but what were some of the first eye catchers or really
Right.
neat ones that you recall as early on as you recall them? So I would just love to hear a little bit about that too also.
One of the oldest strains of guppies is on that picture that's on your screen right now. It's the half black red. That exact fish was in my tank 70 years ago.
Wow.
And they call this one. This
Go
one
ahead.
they're calling this one the Dumbo Red Dragon, and then there's some Dumbo Green Dragons. So yeah.
They've gone through, yeah. Well, the name is always a function of whatever is currently cool and popular. But I've always known them as a half black red. I put myself through graduate school in Boston raising that fish. I line bred German half black reds and sold them at the rate of about probably 25 pair a week, and I was selling them for I think $250 a pair. They don't go for more than that today.
Wow.
50 years ago, they were selling for exactly what they're selling for now at wholesale.
So Father Fish, is that also known as like the tuxedo kind that we know today? I mean, would you call that a
that's
similar pattern? Okay.
That's right. Yeah. One of the things I like about them, these don't look like they have it, is an iridescent dorsal fin. That's kind of a nice variation on some of the strains. But the whole idea of guppies, if 10 people come into the shop and look at guppies, 9 of them will pick what they believe is the prettiest one. And that'll vary considerably by finish, by color, by design. There's no kind of universal. And they'll want typically no females. They're not interested in breeding them. They're interested in having pretty fish in their tank.
Right on.
1 out of 10 will look at them and try to find fish like what Jesse just sent me. Line bred fish where they're all identical. And they'll be interested in that because they want to be able to line breed them. And they want to be able to keep that same characteristic. Some people, if they're really serious hobbyists, will look to get some variation and then line breed those variations in order to pull out some characteristic they're looking for. Typically, people who are doing that do not buy their fish in a pet shop. They buy them from other breeders.
Guilty.
Oh, I know. Well, me too.
Right.
A lot of the fish I carry
They don't sell
are
them.
fish I get from breeders.
Right.
They usually sell them.
Well,
Especially how they sell males and females, but they'll sell certain strains of males and mixed females. So it's kind of hard to buy a certain brand.
Right.
Are you able to turn your mic up a little bit, Chubbs?
yeah, I couldn't hear what you said.
Let me try. Let me see.
Well, when you're closer to it, I can hear you better.
Now the line breeder is more interested in females than males, and not for purely production purposes.
Right.
The line breeder will trace the genetics of the female and will not trace the genetics of the male. Or if they do, it'll be secondary to tracing the genetics of the female, because it's the female that's the unknown visual characteristics. So now you can pretty well see what you're going to get.
Right.
And that's what
you need to know. You need to know her fathers and her grandfathers and so forth in order to know what gene she's carrying.
And that's what I really enjoy about the new strains, where you can see the tails of the female having color. Because for years, the problem is, you have a tank and maybe you have 8 tanks and you want some with a lyre tail and some with a spade tail, and you can't remember the females, which is which. And so you put them in there and you get 2 or 3 generations out and you got all these fish that look really similar, and it just takes one little fry female getting into the wrong tank, or your marker coming off the glass or whatever, and then you're lost. So I like breeding now. Any line that I've tried to start, I like crossing in a female of any sort that just has any color on her tail, so that I can at least differentiate. Okay, the ones with the soft blue edges on their tail, at least I know those are, rainbow tiger endlers or something,
One of the first strains to really show a lot of color was the Tequila Sunrise. That hit about 20 years ago. The female has a bright red tail. It's really more orangey than red. But I could always go into, when the breeders ship their culls out, I could easily pull the males out, but I could find the females because even though they were in with 10 dozen other strains of females, that female tequila sunrise had the same tail as the male. And that was one of the first females that ever showed really substantial color. The Japanese are breeding today strains that are, they have not made it to the States yet, at least not in sufficient numbers to really make them commonly available. But for the last 4 or 5 years, they've been knocking down all the first, second, and third prizes at the International Guppy Show for the new strains they're developing. It's really, really remarkable stuff. If you get a chance to look at any of those new Japanese guppy strains, it'll blow your socks off.
Yeah, actually tonight I just sent Jess some pictures of the newest certified strains out of Singapore.
Let me get those pulled up. I got them so I can pull them up here. Right. Let's see.
You can always minimize my screen or whatever too. Oh. I don't want to take up time with other fishes here. Like
no, you're fine. You're fine. I can do split screen. I just got to get to it. Let's see.
So, Father Fish, what year do you recall Endlers entering the hobby?
Pretty recently, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, because it was in the 1970s that they were even identified as a official fish.
Yeah. And they were not really recognized as unique from guppies until about 2000. They didn't begin showing up in the hobby.
Yeah, it's
interesting at all.
Yeah, it's interesting.
2000.
Yeah, it's interesting because, for instance, like you were talking about the Japanese strains, the Japanese blue Endler, blue guppy, which is a really famous guppy now since 1993. What was his name? Ichi Azakara, I think his name is.
That's right.
He actually used Endlers to get that smaller body frame, but that was nowhere in the name. But the blue Japanese guppy is really half Endler.
The first one I saw was the grass guppy, the Japanese grass guppy. Beautiful, beautiful fish.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure the string's around anymore. I haven't seen it in years.
It is, but it's hard to find, and most of them have been either crossed with the Luke Roebuck Hawaiian bluegrass, which is a really nice one, or they're crossed with the green Moscow. And we talked about it on the last show. That shiny color that you were talking about liking on the original fish, how that's completely separate from they call it iridophore, the iridescence. It's not pigmentation, it's actually small crystals in the scales of the fish that refract light like a prism.
Right.
Okay, so those are the pictures of the guppies that you sent.
Yeah, there's one that says Guppy 2020, and those are all the Sri Lankan breeders had an expo in Singapore, a digital expo, and these were their what they brought to the table this year as their new ones.
Sri Lanka's been there. I had back in about 2000. Maybe 1995, 2001 in there. I had a couple of friends in Sri Lanka who were guppy breeders. So they've been serious about guppies for a very long time, 30 years or more. So they're producing some really, really wonderful fish.
But those fish in your store would still only bring, what, $5, $6. You can't sell
Yeah,
like trios and pairs.
I did at one point acquire a lot of the guppies. Let's see, the internet was not the international, the American Guppy Association had its meeting in Tampa about 5 years ago. And people shipped guppies to them from all over the world. A lot of stuff came in after the show was over, and they couldn't send them back, so they brought them into me and I bought them all. And they were obviously pretty magnificent fish. And I was able to get between $10 and $25 a pair for them. But they were really extraordinary fish. I sell guppy pairs, nice pairs, the best I can find in the industry for $5 a pair. Now, those are not fish I get from breeders. They're fish I get from farmers. They're coming off the farm, and they're nice, but they're not spectacular.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for us,
Hey, can y'all hear me better now?
Yeah.
That's a lot better, Chubb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So for us that are wanting
All right,
to breed, we can't quite get into the commercial side of it because we're not big enough. So we kind of stay in the hobbyist / breeder.
Boutique.
There, yeah, boutique.
Yeah.
That's what Jason is trying to do. That's one of the more rarefied
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
attempts to do that.
Hey, Jesse.
And it'll be real interesting to see. He's in a perfect market. So we'll see how he's able to do. But yeah,
Right.
even somebody like Andres at Bioaquatics, he's online. He's selling almost exclusively to hobbyists. He sells Sirocco bids through eBay, just whatever. If
Right.
he winds up with a big batch of fish, he'll dump them on a wholesaler. But otherwise, he's doing much better selling direct at retail.
Yeah, the Twin City Guppies up in Minnesota also, they've done a pretty good job keeping, $20 to $100 trios kind of thing online of high-end, very clean lines. So it's kind of nice to see that. One of the older ones that I recall, and I got the first guppies I made good money off of were around 1996 were Delta tail cobra, purple cobras, purple snake skins.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were called they were called lavender snake skins. Yeah. But I mean, even back then they were going for $50 a pair. And when eBay started, a gentleman, and I can't remember his name, I should know it, but I used to deal with a lot. He owned Guppy Train, and he was kind of a hoarder of guppy species. And he was in Montana at the time, and he had a pet store in a small town of 300 people, but it was just a base to call, his collection, basically. And he had a younger gentleman in his 20s or 30s when he was about in his late 60s or early 70s come by. And since then, he's been operating out of California and had that younger guy running all his marketing and social media. But he used to advertise in the back of the fish hobby magazines in the kind of classified little, eighth of a page ads. And that's where I found some of my first high-end guppies, before the internet was popular.
Nice. That's real nice.
So these are these are the.
It looks like a snake skin, is it?
Christopher
Hang on,
Stevenson, thank you,
hang on.
Nigel.
Yeah, hang on. It's showing. Hang on. Let me redo this. It didn't do it right. Okay. Share screen. Share screen. That one. There. There we go. That's what I wanted it to do. Okay. These are the ATFG catalog that I got.
Nice.
And they've got some really, really nice ones in here.
I'll be right back. What?
Oh, that ball jumped out of my fucking foot.
Technical difficulties.
So, we all have those. That's all right.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. So these are some of the, or a lot of the ones, the new releases from the ATFG that I got the catalog for. The guy had posted a bunch of them on Aquabid, and I waited and kind of watching to see what they were going to go for. And then came back later and, asked him, what he would want, if he would still take, whatever.
Well, on that note, I bet Father Fish could illuminate everybody on the economics of when you start a rare strain in an area and everyone comes in and buys it. How does that unfold, Father Fish?
Well, there's an ascendancy that goes up very quickly, and then there's a more gradual, about a 45-degree angle slide. The fish farmers have this problem all the time. They'll come up with something really popular. One farmer will do something that'll just knock it out of the park. And the next year, everybody tries to do it. And the diminishing returns are sometimes it'll fall like a rock. And a fish that will have gone for $5 or $10 one year will be $1.50 the next year because everybody gets into it. It's a saturation issue. And that fish are mostly a local market kind of phenomenon. And it's easy for that local market to get swamped. Their club finds that all the time. We have auctions at our club at every meeting. And we, after about 6 months, we're casting about to try to find something new because all the members are bringing the same stuff month after month after month, and it gets old. So we're real excited when something new shows up.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that keeps the hobby interesting for a lot of people. It's really the reason I'm doing the shop rather than a farm or a breeding operation, because I get to have all the new stuff. I get to have all the
You need to see it all first, huh?
I don't get to keep it long.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
That's
never
We
cool.
get to see it for a little while.
Yeah, that would be
The thing I
awesome.
lose is the opportunity to be able to keep that for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and to to grow it out, to breed it, to get further generations. I lose that, and I miss that. But I do get to hit my bucket list.
That's right. You get to keep them all.
I mean, some of these snake skins and lace patterns are, through the roof. They are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
they're really remarkable, aren't they? And that's not even the nicest stuff that's
Right.
available.
Right.
How do I get my hands on the nicest stuff?
You can't. It's not coming in. It's not coming into the country.
Wow.
The market is so strong in in the East, in China, Japan, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and so forth. The market is so powerful there that really high quality stuff that's produced there, and that's where most of it's coming from, is sold right there in that market. They don't need to ship it out. So the grade A stuff, the top level stuff, never gets off the continent. Basically, it stays right there, and they're getting $1,000 a pair for some of this stuff.
Wow.
Big dollars.
Wow.
Stuff we won't. We
Yeah.
probably will never see it because
Wow.
by the time it'll disappear. That's the other thing about these strains. The half black red is one of the few that has made it as a permanent strain. There are variations of it, but it has stayed basically the same for more than 50 years. That's remarkable. There's no other Guppy that's done that.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
So you see it with
so
other
many.
kind of libraries as well. I mean, in Florida, there are any number of strains that farmers develop of one fish or another that are real popular. They're extraordinary. They're remarkable. And then he'll die, or that strain gets lost, and that's it. You never see it again. It's gone. And that happens with guppies. It happens all the time. Look at that. There they are. It happens all the time.
Look at that super full platinum. What does HTD mean? HTD ribbon. So it's like RREA, super full platinum HTD ribbon. HTD. I don't know. Did we lose Alex?
High dorsal.
I don't know.
It's a high dorsal, high.
Oh.
What it is.
Okay, high dorsal. Let's see. And then they have the endlers. So they're coming out with new endlers all the time.
Oh, yeah. They got so many different types coming out, and I got so many different ones in my tank that you don't even see in there.
Yeah,
right? Trying to get Alex back. There we go.
Amazing what you get when you mix a couple of different guppies with a couple endlers. You get so many possibilities.
Gumbo.
I hardly have anything same in my tank. Like 2 or 3 of this one, 2 or 3 of that one, and a whole lot of everything.
I mean, you pretty much just got to get lucky that you get a strain that everybody just loves, that it's just the most popular thing.
Well, and then, that year, or maybe for 2 years, and after that, it's not going to be.
Right.
There's a limited number of people who you have access to that are going to buy it. And once it's bought out, you're not going to market it again.
Right.
I would highly recommend against breeding the pandas anymore. On that note.
Yeah.
They're saturated, and same with the same with the black and whites, where you just are selling males. They've been doing that at Petco and PetSmart, but they're just taking a solid black male and a solid white male and selling them as yin yang. I saw they're selling them for like $15 at Petco.
Amazing.
Hey, see, Jesse said even with the HTDs, less than 50% will actually display that phenotype.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Which means a high dorsal.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I think it's high tail and dorsal, right?
High tail and dorsal, yeah.
And then John Larson said they're doing a lot in the Philippines. Wait. Now, keeping the fish in the sun at a constant temperature makes a big difference. Really?
Anything
But it
outdoors.
makes
You
the
tan
color
them.
come out better. You tan them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the sun provides a lot more radiation than any kind of light you can put on them.
Really? I am blown away by that.
That's an old
awesome.
trick. Yeah, that's an old trick for all sorts of fish. They'll tan them before fish shows.
Wow. I'm blown away by that one. That is just cool. That's neat. I like that.
You should see their little eye. You should see their little eye covers. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right? It's like you gotta go put them in a tanning bed. They won't get cancer from their tanning bed when they go tan.
Yeah. The ones wearing sunglasses.
Right?
That's how you can tell. They're darkened irises.
Let's see. People try to. Let's see. Yeah, fish also tan, and the sun does wonders to fish color. Jesse's been doing that before. Wait, I've done that before fish shows. People try to colony breed these, and it just doesn't work. No, because you've got to cull so much, and if you don't cull, then
that's exactly right. Yeah, culling is really the key.
Yes.
You know, and a good culling method is to pull the one best fish out of the entire litter or school. Take one and feed the others out to the Oscar. Just pull one fish out of each litter. That gives you a guaranteed improvement in the strain, at least in terms of the features you're looking for. So if you're looking for more black, you pull the one out that's got the most black in each class. And either breed it back to the mother, or breed it forward.
Yep. Yeah, I have a pair of purple mosaic big ears. A female looks like she's about to burst.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got those. I lost my big female, but I have all of her babies, and they're growing up really, really nice.
Was that your female we were looking at the other day, Chubbs?
Yeah, the big fat one.
Was it or day before?
Let me go to that.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, that's the purple mosaics I got.
Yeah.
They're real pretty, especially when you get the duckweed off the top of them.
Right,
you really
right.
see the purple. The green just owns the purple real bad.
Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah, those are nice.
I love the iridescence. That's really my favorite.
That's the ones I got right there, the purple mosaics.
Yeah, those right there.
Yep.
Yep, I got them.
Wow.
The big thing is with these, getting these fish from Coast Gym. You got
those blue dragons right there too.
Yep. You've got to cull, and you've got to cull extremely hard if they even breed true. So I've had one issue with them, but they took care of it with them not breeding true, and I've had to cull a lot, and they just go. I mean, they're pretty fish. Don't get me wrong, but they just go in the mutt guppy tank. They're not what I want to be coming out of, off my website. That's not what I want to sell. I want to sell, the good stuff. And even if it didn't exactly come from them that way, I can make it that way. So,
yeah. Well,
but it takes a lot of culling.
You'll notice too that red is a very common color in guppies. One, it's easy to impart into them, but two, it's easy to color them up to an extreme level by feeding them carotenoids, and specifically you can redden up or orangen up almost any guppy. Even a blue guppy will often get orange dots if you give it astaxanthin, I think is how you say it, astaxanthin. But yeah, it's a chemical that you can just, I mean, it's in a lot of like for color enhancement, that kind of food with the omegas and things. That's what they put in it to make all fish redder. It's the same thing. And it's also what's in for years they said it was just the iodine, but that's also one of the key things that helps flamingos color up as well. That's in shellfish is that same chemical.
Right on.
That's
I
cool.
heard paprika works real good for helping color up fish too.
It's
I
in
heard a lot
paprika
about that.
actually.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yep, same chemical.
So how would you know how much to feed? How much paprika to feed? That's where I get lost.
You just get a little funnel and.
So I mean, you just sprinkle a little bit in the tank.
You should be alright.
Well, generally with that kind of additive, you want to get as much into the fish as you can. So you kind of load up on whatever it is they're eating. If it's brine shrimp, then you just kind of load it up with the brine shrimp. Brine shrimp you can feed additives to, like spirulina or paprika, and they'll actually take it in. Then you feed that shrimp, the live shrimp.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's what I do brine shrimp every day, and I just started putting spirulina in to feed my adults. So that's cool.
Brine shrimp, yeah, spirulina, paprika as well. You can do garlic too. It doesn't enhance color, but it does provide some product, what am I thinking? It controls bacteria.
Wow.
It increases the vibrancy of the fish.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the garlic will also oftentimes help if you're trying to feed your fish something and they won't eat it. Garlic can sometimes be the magic ingredient that makes them decide
they like it. A bunch of Italians, they like it.
Yeah.
I heard on Father Fish's story this morning, somebody asked how much garlic to put in, and you said just cut it up and throw it in.
Right.
How much garlic you got?
You can put it through a garlic press, put it in the blender, whatever. There is a product, liquid garlic, is sold on the market. It does not have a good shelf life, and I've never seen it for sale in a supermarket.
I like that. It's garlic. By I think the company's pronounced Dido, and it's frozen garlic, and it's already macerated or blended in a little cube in the freezer, and it's like perfect for like a 40 breeder. One little cube goes great.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I'll look for it.
It's pretty cheap. It's like $1.99 for I think like I don't know 20 cubes or 15 cubes, and it lasts a while for fish.
Right.
Not that it's that hard to cut up garlic. But.
Yeah, a bottle of chopped garlic, you can use that.
I mean, it's just amazing. It blows my mind how many. I mean, look at how many different kinds we have now. What else could they do?
Yeah, that's the thing that's really remarkable about guppies. It's an artist's palette. You can produce whatever you have in your mind to produce. It's just a matter of having a clear vision of what you're trying to get to, and then step by step, you select out the fish that have the characteristic you're looking for. And maybe if you're looking for a unique color, maybe it'll be this one tiny spot. You pull that one out and you breed it. And you'll find in that next litter or the one after that a little bit larger spot of that color. So you select that out and breed it. And you just go on with that based on what you're looking for, what you're trying to achieve. And if you have the eye of an artist, you can use the fish as a palette and be able to produce whatever your mind's eye can see.
Right.
It's really remarkable, and it's absolutely true. I mean, the people are producing these absolutely phenomenal fish have gone after those characteristics. They've deliberately tried to achieve that. It has not happened by accident. It's happened by diligence and effort and really selecting over and over and over again. And it might take 10 generations. It might take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get something that is exactly what you're looking for. But each time you get a little closer.
Well, is this the way I'm trying to figure this out is there's transparent layer. You got one layer that's gray.
The bad
Ish. Yeah, I see that. What about now? Okay, I fixed it.
Yep.
Okay, so like the first layer is white, then the second layer is gray, and then the third layer is and all of these colors are transparent, like you can see through them kind of.
It's like stained glass, yeah.
With all of those colors laid on top of each other is what we see on the outside of the guppy. Is that right? Is that how am I thinking right?
Yeah, so here, so I'll show you an example real quick. So,
okay.
So you've got, it's kind of like looking at a plastic bag or something. So you have, if these were your colors, I wish I could color this with something real quick.
I know I was looking for transparent paper earlier today and I couldn't find any.
Okay, well, we'll just use a net as the bottom color and then just pretend that these are different colors. But basically, you've got like colors, and this would be like your base color. I'm not saying blue is the base color because blonde is the name of the base color. But then you have another color over it like this and another color over it like this. Depending on the guppies, you can have up to 7. Right. And some have 1, some have 7. But on top of that, each of these layers is full of what we call chromatophores or iridophores. And the top layer, which makes fish scales shiny, is known as their iridophore layer. And all the Moscow guppies and Pingu Chinese, like pastel color guppies, and all that iridescence, the gasoline shimmer looking stuff, is in this layer. And this layer is separate from the colors, but it lays over it. And so now we're seeing for the first time fish that are completely, free of color or albino or whatnot or black, and they just have a layer of the iridophores. So you just get that really beautiful shimmer, and that shimmer is determined by the shape and size of the guanine and guarine crystals, which is a really basic building block in biology, the chemically wise. But inside there's these little clear cells of protoplasm, which is just the goo in between your cell, within the cell. And the light comes through, and just like the famous picture from, Dark Side of the Moon, the album cover with the prism, with the light going through it and coming out as a rainbow, that's exactly what's going on. But what they can do is they can flex this membrane like this. They can flex it with their muscles and fold it so that it refracts light differently.
Wow.
Whereas underneath, they have a layer which blood flow determines a certain amount of it, but then with hydrodynamic pressure and osmosis in the cells, so soaking up water, they're able to swell these layers so that, like, say right now this is blue and this is let's just pretend it's red for now, so that you're looking at a purple fish here. They can then contract this layer so that you see more of the blue and it looks like a light, bluish purple, whereas they can also spread out the chromatophore cells, and that makes them evenly distributed, and this layer becomes more opaque and you don't see as much blue, and so you end up seeing a bunch of red. So you could have a purple guppy turn red while it's spawning or doing its show, and every part of their skin does that, and it can be a bunch of layers, but it's almost like they're circles, and they expand and contract, and it's very similar to the way when you look at a TV, there's only 3 colors. Well, guppies have up to 7, right. And so basically it's like the same thing. When if you look at it up close, they're like pixels. So you're playing with breeding those layers and how strong they are.
Is the pattern...
Okay, so boys and girls, if you want to know how to achieve that, all of that knowledge and understanding is completely worthless in the actual process of breeding the fish. Because you cannot breed a fish genetically.
Well, now we can.
Well, you can, but you're not going to get your desired result. You'll get something that'll fly off the other end of the spectrum, like a glowfish.
Well, right. That's exactly it. I mean, we have a new technology called CRISPR, which you can manipulate genetics at home for about $150. I mean, you can splice in genes and things like that. So I do think in the future of the hobby, very soon, you'll see people at least messing with it. Like you said, it may make a lot of really freaky, weird fish that die and stuff, but...
Yeah, the bottom line is, if you draw a picture of a guppy using your crayon box, or say your 3-year-old does, and you think it's really spectacular, you can spend the next 2 years achieving that, getting to that specific thing. And you do it by picking out the fish each time that are closest to it. And in each generation, you should be able to take another step closer. But it's really kind of in many ways, the most physically obvious sort of selection. There's nothing particularly sophisticated about it at all. It's simply picking out the fish that's the prettiest one based on your notion of what is beautiful, of the beautiful fish that you've determined to try to achieve.
And everybody has a different one.
Yeah, the key is to have a goal. Have a goal in mind. Have something you're shooting for, that you're aiming for, rather than simply pulling out the prettiest one every time, because you wind up with mutts.
Although, I will say it can really help to know now that someone else has gone through the trouble. Like, I spent over 10 years with the purple snake skins trying to figure out which colors would dominate it versus which would be co-dominant and which would be recessive. And now there are guides so that, if you mix purple with red is going to overpower the purple on the fish. Whereas if you mix it with green, it's going to share. You'll get like, splotches of green and splotches of this. But there's so many variables. There's 4 different genes involved with every color. So it's not just a simple Punnett square like, A, big A, little a, and big B, little b, like you might learn in, high school or middle school or whatever. It's 4 of those. So there's 8 characters, 8 genetic phenotype characters minimum involved. So I mean, like,
or you can just pick the pretty one.
right.
GRB said that he's got a beta book from the 1960s. He said it's fascinating articles of the early U.S. beta breeders and the colors they were producing.
Yeah.
Were the betas okay? So the guppies, who was first to start really getting into breeding and genetics? Was it the guppies or the betas?
Well, the betas were first because the betas go back 1,000 years or more.
And
they were bred, but they were not bred for color. They were bred for fighting.
Right. And then the goldfish were prior to that.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, they go back, they think about 1,300 years, but your average person wasn't allowed to have goldfish until about 600 years ago, 500 years ago. It was actually a death sentence.
The koi was even more recently.
Yeah.
Koi were protected. They were only owned by the sun god of Japan.
Yeah.
About, less than 100 years ago.
Wow. Well, Alex, hang on to that story. Hang on to that story. I want to hear that story. But we need to move over to Chubbs' channel now.
Yeah.
And everybody,
jump off and go grab that channel.
All right.
Start the stream.
Okay.
I'll see y'all in a little bit.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm gonna say goodnight.
Yes, and everybody, thank Father Fish.
Get up at 6 and
have a good one.
Thanks, Father Fish.
Coming in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well,
Father
thank you so much for coming.
Can I ask one? Can I ask one quick question?
Sure, Alex.
Which is, how many babies did guppies have when you started keeping them 70 years ago versus now? Is it the same or different?
Well, I think the guppies were not getting as big. So
that'd have been less.
Yeah, so 10 or 15 was a lot. We never got 20. And I don't think they lived this long. I think the guppies today are generally a stronger strain of fish than the original one. That was early on in blind breeding, and there were a lot of mistakes being made. It was a wild fish. It was only recently domesticated. It's gotten a lot stronger.
What, in your opinion, is the most popular fish that you sell in your store?
Wow. Most popular fish I sell in my store. Rams. German blue rams.
Really?
I cannot keep them. I bought 25 last week and they're all gone.
Wow.
It's a tiny little fish. It's certainly not nondescript, very colorful, pretty fish. But yeah, I sell a lot of rams. I just got blacks in.
Cool.
I heard they're getting real popular.
Yep. They're badly overpriced for what they are. They're just a dark blue.
Right.
Maybe
I like the electric blue. I like that one.
The electric blue is pretty, or the gold.
Yeah.
Is pretty.
So I guess, are they hard to breed?
They're really easy to breed.
Really?
A very simple fish to breed.
Then why is it so hard to get?
No, well, I think they're just really not a lot of people doing them.
Oh.
it's a bit of a cartel situation too, where you've got a few breeders with the best quality that aren't giving up all the.
Absolutely true. Yeah,
Oh.
Valley Farms here in Ruston produces 1 million rams a year.
Wow.
And they are spectacular.
Wow.
You know, it's like they've got some kind of a key in them. You can breed them, they breed easily, you can raise the young, but somehow you never quite get the quality.
Huh.
Interesting.
I wouldn't have thought that. I was thinking it was going to be betas or guppies. That's what I was thinking.
I thought neon tetras maybe.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, still a lot of betas. But I think it's interesting you ask because, you know, it took a while to figure that out. Every time I got them in, they disappear.
Yeah, that and the Hillstream loaches.
Yeah, I just have a lot of trouble with them. They don't hold up well for me.
And they're not easy to breed.
I really don't find it's not all that popular in the sense that if somebody loses one, they're not going to buy another one.
Oh.
They'll try something else instead. With the Rams, if they lose them, they're going to try it again.
Because they're so colorful. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, it is time to swap over to Chubbs' channel. He has got he's live now. So,
all right, thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Father Fish. I hope I can hold you again one night, and I will see you in the morning as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
Say hi.
I will.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night, Father Fish.
Good night. I don't know how to take myself off here.
I'll do it.